The sky above Nevada tore open without a sound, and the stars behind it aligned into a perfect burning line. Ethan Carter stared at the satellite feed as emergency. Lights washed the control room in red. No explosion, no debris, only a vertical corridor of light, stretching beyond the atmosphere, into something no telescope could measure. It was too precise to be natural and too controlled to be an accident. At the Orion Deep Space Array, every screen showed the same structure, symmetrical and stable like a doorway carved into space itself. The signal coming from it was not random radiation, but layered and intentional. Ethan leaned toward the glass overlooking the desert. Even from miles away, the corridor shimmered against the dark sky. "Tell me that's a projection," he said. Dr. Maya Reyes kept her eyes on the holographic console. "It's bending gravity at the edges. That's architecture." Analysts argued while satellites repositioned and jets circled at a distance. Then the signal shifted. Mathematical sequences formed from the light. Prime numbers, constants, a three-dimensional map of the solar system appeared with Earth illuminated. "They know where we are," Maya said quietly. The corridor pulsed brighter, and a narrow beam extended downward, stopping just above the sand. It did not burn or explode, it waited. Global networks strained under panic and speculation. Some called it salvation, others invasion. Inside Orion, new symbols formed in the beam, adjusting as if learning. Maya froze the data. "It's adapting to our transmissions." Ethan felt a chill, or building a language. The beam lowered slightly again and every screen flashed white. When the image returned, a single geometric symbol hovered inside the light, a circle crossed by a vertical line, simple and deliberate. The room fell silent. Humanity had just been asked a question, and the corridor was waiting for the answer. The symbol remained suspended inside the beam, unmoving and unmistakably deliberate. A circle divided by a vertical line, glowing with steady intensity, as if refusing to blink before humanity did. Inside the Orion control room, no one dared to speak too loudly, as though sound itself might be interpreted as a response. Ethan Carter kept his eyes fixed on the live feed while global leaders demanded explanations through encrypted channels. Dr. Maya Reyes enlarged the image and began running pattern analysis. "It's stable," she said. "No fluctuation in energy density. It's being maintained with precision." That meant intelligence, not automation, not a dying probe drifting through space. Something active was holding that structure in place. Outside, military aircraft maintained distance, their radar systems confused by the gravitational distortion around the corridor. Every attempt to scan through the beam returned fragmented data, as if the interior refused to be mapped. Meanwhile, observatories across the planet confirmed the same impossible fact. The corridor did not originate from a distant star. It appeared anchored somewhere beyond measurable coordinates. Then a new development froze the room. The symbol began to pulse in intervals. Short, short, long, a repeating rhythm. Maya's fingers moved fast, overlaying the pulses against known communication systems. It was not Morse code, not binary, but the intervals formed ratios tied to fundamental mathematical constants. It's referencing universal measurements, she realized. Time based on atomic transitions. They're using physics as grammar. Ethan felt the weight of the moment press against his chest. This was not random contact. This was structured outreach, carefully designed to avoid cultural ambiguity. If physics was the bridge, then mathematics was the handshake. The president's directive came through seconds later. Establish controlled response. No aggression. No weapons deployment. Humanity would answer with knowledge, not fear. Maya configured the deep space transmitters. Instead of language, they sent a sequence back through the beam, matching constants, mirrored ratios, acknowledgement through shared mathematics. The transmission left Earth and touched the lower edge of the corridor's light. For one breathless second, nothing changed. Then the symbol inside the beam rotated 90 degrees. The circle remained. The line shifted horizontal. Gasps filled the control room. "It responded," Ethan whispered. But the corridor did not brighten in triumph. It did not advance. Instead, the beam widened slightly, and within it faint shapes began to form beyond the original symbol. Depth where there had only been surface. Layers where there had only been light. The doorway was no longer just a message, it was becoming a window. And something on the other side was starting to come into focus. The window inside the beam deepened until it no longer looked like light but like distance. Layers of faint structures appeared beyond the rotated symbol, as if space itself had been folded back to reveal what lay behind it. Ethan Carter felt the room shift from fear to awe in a single breath. This was no longer a signal. It was perspective. Dr. Maya Reyes enhanced the interior distortion carefully. The shapes were not random. They resembled massive arcs arranged in concentric alignment, curving around an unseen center. Energy moved along their surfaces in controlled streams. Whatever stood beyond the corridor was engineered on a scale that made Earth cities look microscopic. "Those are constructs," Maya said quietly. "Not ships, not debris, infrastructure." Across the planet, observatories confirmed the same feed. The corridor was acting as a gravitational lens, bending reality just enough to expose a fraction of its origin point. No star signature matched it. No galaxy classification aligned. The background radiation pattern was subtly different from our own universe's baseline measurements. Ethan's pulse quickened. Are we looking at another region of space or another framework entirely? Before Maya could respond, the beam flickered, not with instability but with adjustment. The horizontal line inside the circle dissolved and reorganized into multiple parallel lines evenly spaced. 3 of them. Simple. Intentional. "They're escalating the pattern," Maya said. "One line, then one rotated, now 3. They're building complexity step by step." The deep space transmitters prepared a reply, this time expanding the mathematical sequence to prime clusters grouped in 3s. The signal shot upward and touched the widening beam. The response was immediate. The interior view sharpened. One of the massive arcs beyond the corridor illuminated, revealing latticework stretching across impossible distances. Energy flowed through it like blood through veins. A tremor passed through the facility as instruments registered a subtle gravitational fluctuation. Not dangerous, but deliberate. Controlled. The corridor was not just showing them something. It was syncing. Global networks stabilized as panic gave way to synchronized observation. For the first time in history, nations were not arguing about borders or resources. They were watching the same window, studying the same unknown architecture. Then a new layer formed within the beam. A faint outline of a sphere materialized behind the parallel lines. Smooth. Featureless. Waiting. Ethan stared at it, breath slow and measured. "That's not a symbol," he said. Maya nodded without looking away. "It's a placeholder." The corridor pulsed once more, softer this time, as if signaling readiness. The next move would not be theirs. It would be ours. The silent sphere behind the parallel lines grew sharper, its surface absorbing light instead of reflecting it. It was not metallic, not gaseous, not anything that matched known matter states. Instruments at Orion struggled to classify it while gravitational readings remained perfectly balanced, as if the object existed without mass in the conventional sense. Ethan Carter kept his voice low. "It's waiting for input." Dr. Maya Reyes compared the sphere's dimensions to the mathematical exchange so far. They've been increasing symbolic complexity step by step. 1 line, rotated line, 3 lines. Now a sphere behind them. It's a progression. From dimension to dimension, Ethan realized. Around the world, research teams synchronized models in real time. The corridor was no longer just displaying information. It was responding proportionally to human output. When Earth had answered with basic constants, it rotated a line. When Earth expanded into grouped primes, it revealed structure. Now it was presenting a volumetric form, a test of spatial reasoning. The President's Science Council approved a new transmission, a 3-dimensional mathematical construct encoded in polarized light. A rotating cube defined by ratios of pi and phi, universal constants unlikely to be ambiguous. The signal launched through deep space transmitters and intersected the lower beam. For a fraction of a second, the corridor dimmed. Heartbeat stalled. Then the sphere behind the lines shifted. A thin equatorial ring ignited around it, perfectly aligned with the rotational axis of Earth itself. The parallel lines dissolved and reformed into a grid intersecting the ring at precise intervals. Gasps rippled across the control room. They understood volume, Maya whispered, and orientation. The window deepened again. Beyond the sphere, faint silhouettes moved along the distant arcs revealed earlier. Not chaotic motion, but purposeful alignment, like systems activating in response to a handshake. Global seismic monitors detected another controlled fluctuation, stronger this time yet still within safe bounds. The corridor was adjusting its interface, stabilizing a broader channel between two realities. Ethan felt the magnitude settle over him. This was no invasion, no random anomaly. It was negotiation through physics, layer by layer, concept by concept. The sphere brightened subtly, and a new pattern began forming across its surface. Points of light arranged themselves into constellations that did not match Earth's sky. Coordinates, not of our system, of theirs. The alien constellations across the sphere stabilized into a precise star map. Lines connected the brightest points, forming routes rather than decorative patterns. This was not art. It was navigation. Ethan Carter felt a chill as trajectory simulations began auto-populating across every screen at Orion. None of the coordinates aligned with the Milky Way. The background radiation embedded in the image carried a spectral signature slightly offset from our universal baseline. "They're not just showing us where they are," Dr. Reyes said. "They're showing us how to reach it." The equatorial ring around the sphere brightened and rotated slowly. As it turned, sections of the distant arcs beyond the corridor lit up in synchronization, creating a chain of illuminated gateways stretching into impossible depth. Infrastructure, a network. Around the globe, governments fell silent. The debate was no longer about defense. It was about capability. Humanity did not possess propulsion remotely capable of crossing such distances. Yet the corridor itself stood anchored above Earth like the first link in that chain. Ethan overlaid human star charts onto the alien projection. There was no overlap, no familiar anchor point. "This isn't a nearby system," he murmured. "It's outside our mapped cosmology." Maya zoomed into the lattice patterns behind the sphere. Energy streams pulsed rhythmically between arcs, and each pulse subtly altered the corridor's gravitational signature. "It's a transit framework," she concluded. "A stabilized passage system. They engineered distance. A new signal formed at the lower edge of the beam. Not a symbol this time, but a narrowing tunnel of light extending just a fraction closer to the desert floor. Instruments recorded zero destructive output. Instead, they detected harmonic resonance matching the frequency of the mathematical cube humanity had transmitted earlier. "They're synchronizing to us," Ethan said. The sphere flickered once and projected a final addition to the map. A single unlit node at the edge of the illuminated chain. Its position corresponded exactly with Earth's location relative to the corridor. An empty slot. The implication was undeniable. The network was incomplete, and they were offering humanity a place within it. The unlit node representing Earth pulsed faintly, separated from the glowing chain by a measurable but narrowing gap. The corridor above Nevada responded with a low harmonic vibration that instruments translated into stable resonance, not force. It was not pulling. It was aligning. Ethan Carter watched trajectory models update in real time. "If that node activates, the corridor becomes permanent," he said quietly. "A fixed link in their network." Dr. Reyes studied the energy exchange. The harmonic frequency matched the cube humanity had transmitted earlier, but now it required amplification. "They're waiting for parity," she concluded. "Not surrender, not worship, contribution." Across the planet, research facilities redirected power grids toward experimental transmitters. Particle accelerators, fusion prototypes, orbital solar arrays, everything capable of producing clean, coherent energy was brought into a synchronized framework. For the first time in history, global infrastructure behaved like a single machine. The President authorized Project Threshold, a coordinated planetary mission using mathematics as structure and energy as intent. The signal would not be a weapon or a greeting. It would be a demonstration of capability. At precisely 18 UTC, the transmission began. Waves of polarized light carrying layered constants, spatial geometry, and harmonic ratios surged upward into the corridor. The beam brightened but did not flare. It absorbed, measured. For 3 seconds nothing changed. Then the dark node within the alien network ignited. Earth's position lit in clean white radiance, equal in intensity to the other gateways. The gap vanished. The chain was complete. Inside the beam, the sphere dissolved into pure luminosity and the equatorial ring expanded outward, forming a circular aperture deep within the corridor's core. Beyond it, the vast arcs shimmered with synchronized energy flow. Global seismic sensors detected a controlled gravitational shift, stronger than before yet still stable. The corridor widened slightly, anchoring deeper into Earth's upper atmosphere without causing turbulence. It was integrating. Ethan exhaled slowly. We just joined something older than our species. Maya's voice was steady but filled with awe. No, we proved we could stand beside it. The aperture stabilized, revealing a passage not just to distant stars, but to an engineered framework spanning realities. The message was clear without words. The network was open, and humanity had stepped through the first gate. The aperture inside the corridor expanded until it resembled a stable horizon suspended in the sky. No turbulence, no fire, just controlled depth. The air above the Nevada desert shimmered as gravitational fields adjusted in precise increments. Instruments confirmed what the human eye could barely process. The gateway was now bidirectional. Ethan Carter stood motionless, watching unmanned probes being prepared on the launch pad below. They were not armed. They carried sensors, quantum clocks, and synchronized atomic transmitters calibrated to the corridor's harmonic signature. If the network was truly open, the first step had to be measured, not rushed. Dr. Maya Reyes monitored the aperture's stability curve. It's holding constant amplitude, she said. They're maintaining the field from their side. We're maintaining ours. Shared load. That realization changed everything. This was not a one-sided phenomenon. It was cooperative physics. The first probe launched vertically, guided directly into the lower beam. For a fraction of a second, it appeared to dissolve in light. Then its telemetry reappeared on screens, intact, transmitting from inside the aperture. Gasps rippled through Orion. The data stream showed no destructive forces, only transition through a compressed geometric corridor where distance behaved like folded fabric. Velocity without inertia, Maya whispered. The probe crossed the threshold. Signal latency shifted, not delayed but recalibrated to a new baseline constant. The background radiation signature changed subtly, confirming it had entered the alien framework. Across the world, silence replaced speculation. Humanity was no longer guessing. It was observing proof. Moments later, visual feed returned from the probe's external cameras. The arcs seen earlier were real. Immense structures curving around a luminous core. Energy rivers flowed along latticework spanning scales beyond imagination. Other nodes glowed in the distance, each a gateway like Earth's newly lit position. Ethan felt the magnitude settle in. We're not alone in this network, he said. As if in response, distant points along the arcs flickered, activating sequentially, not randomly, in acknowledgement. Back above Nevada, the corridor pulsed once, softer than before. No new symbols formed, no instructions appeared. The message was clear through action alone. The first crossing had succeeded, and now the network was watching what humanity would do next. The probe signal stabilized on the far side of the gateway, its instruments recalibrating to the new physical baseline. Background radiation differed by a fractional constant, subtle yet undeniable proof that humanity was no longer observing from home. It had crossed into engineered space. Inside Orion, absolute silence gripped the control room. The live feed showed the luminous core at the center of the alien framework, vast, radiant, surrounded by colossal arcs channeling controlled streams of energy. The scale dwarfed comprehension. These were not ships or stations. They were structural elements of a civilization that had mastered distance itself. Dr. Maya Reyes monitored the probe's quantum clocks. No time dilation beyond expected thresholds, she said. Transit was stabilized. They accounted for relativity. Ethan Carter studied the energy signatures flowing along the lattice. This isn't expansion, he murmured. It's maintenance. They've been running this network for a very long time. Then something shifted. One section of the arc near the probe brightened, not aggressively but deliberately. A smaller aperture formed within the structure ahead, scaled to the probe's size. A path invitation. Telemetry confirmed a guidance field gently aligning the probe's trajectory. Not pulling, assisting. They're giving us a tour, Maya realized. The probe advanced through the interior aperture. As it passed, the cameras captured intricate geometric panels etched with patterns similar to the mathematical constructs humanity had transmitted earlier. Not identical, but compatible. It was unmistakable. The network had adapted to include Earth's signature. Back above Nevada, the main corridor remained stable, its glow softer now, less imposing and more integrated with the sky. Gravitational readings indicated equilibrium between both sides. Shared energy, shared structure. Suddenly, new data appeared within the probe's feed, a cluster of dim nodes far beyond the visible arcs. Unlit positions, arranged in configurations that mirrored early developmental stages, like the dark node Earth had once occupied. Ethan felt the implication hit hard. They're still building the network. Maya nodded slowly. And we're not the first new connection. The luminous core pulsed once, sending a ripple of light across every active node. When it reached Earth's position, the Nevada corridor shimmered in response, not as a demand, not as a command. As recognition, humanity had crossed the first gate successfully, but beyond the arcs and distant unlit nodes, the network stretched further than the probe could measure, and it was far from complete.